Good afternoon everyone, my name is Sean and I'm going to give you today a small session about drum lessons. Drum lessons for just beginners, not for advanced or something. You don't have to worry if you know or if you don't know drums. It's just a small, we'll be talking about, a small lesson talking about history of drums, how did it start, then going for some talking about the parts of the drums, then a basic groove which you guys will play today and not me. Well, starting about the history of drums. Back in, let's say, the 18th century, we really did not have a drum kit, the one that you're looking in front of you. It's a drum kit, but we did not have that back in the 18th century. In the early 19th century, we would use drums, we would use cymbals in the army, the orchestra, everything. But if you use 3 drums and if you use 3 cymbals, they had to hire around 6 percussionist players to play the 6 percussion instruments separately. Then in the 1840s, the percussion players, they tried to use foot pedals to try and play around 2 instruments or 3 instruments together, the way I play the bass instrument with my right foot on the foot pedal. But because there was not mass production of the foot pedal, it was not a clear and a good idea for them. Then in the 1860s is the part when the percussions actually started combining the percussion instruments, let's say the drums and cymbals, into a set, the drum set or the drum kit. Then the idea started actually developing. That actually helped them with the techniques to play different genres in different instruments, using the bass drum, the snare drum, everything together. This actually helped. The problem that I'm going to tell you about actually helped them to develop the use of drum kit. There was a lot of problem with the budget of the orchestra, so it was not possible for them to hire 6 percussionists for different 6 percussion instruments. So using the drum kit was a great idea for the ones who were controlling the budget, so that they have to hire just one single player for around 5 to 6 percussion instruments. That's when they started using the drum kit. Tom, you can join us. Let's share it. So that's when, around the late 19th century, is when we started using drum kit. For pop, then came use of the drum kit. They started using it in different manners, in different techniques for different genres. Well, that was a small history session. I have a lot more to say, but I'm just going to stop the history right over there. Now, talking about the parts of the drums, the most essential part for me is the snare drum. Well, I think you guys have seen me play that a lot on the snare drum. Then we have different toms. These are all the drums. Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 drums, so it's called a 4-part drum kit. If there was one more tom besides the high tom, it would have been called a 5-part drum kit. Now it all depends upon different drummers about how many drums do they need, how many cymbals do they need. Then if I talk about every single thing, we sit on the drum stool that is known as the throne for us. And then, as I said, the essential part, the snare drum. This also depends upon other drummers. If it's not an essential part for them, it's not a great problem. If they want to use this as the essential part, well, that's their choice. Then there's the snare drum, high tom. What we're missing here is the mid tom and the floor tom. Why is this the high, mid, and low or floor tom? It's because of the pitch control actually. It's not pitched properly over here, but the way I thought was, it's that the way you pitch the way you tune the 3 drums or the toms together is dun 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 dun. So the highest is the high tom, mid tom, and low tom. Did you guys get that? The way you tune the toms. So, well, that also depends upon each and every drummer. Then what do we use our legs in the drum kit? The bass drums, the one that you're seeing on the floor, is what we use our right leg for, using the foot pedal over there. Then we use our left foot on the foot pedal of the hi-hat. So this can be played both by your hands and your leg. Then comes the crash cymbal, the one that you're seeing on my left, and the right cymbal. Well, how do we use it? I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. I'm pretty sure you must have seen me playing this at the beginning of the song or after a few fill-ins here and there. The right cymbal is a very essential part when you play soft music or especially when you play jazz. So that also depends. Everything you use the drums for depends upon the drummer and upon what you're playing for and who you're playing for. And then the drum stick. Well, that is kind of a very important part. It also depends upon each drummer about how you hold it. But holding it is also very important part. If you hold it in a wrong manner, you're going to stress your arms a lot, by which you won't be able to play faster or you play a little bit slow. It all depends upon how you're going to hold the drumstick. But jazz drummers, they hold it this way on their left arm. So that's the way they would play. If I would just play the normal thing on jazz, they would just, which I'm not good at, so that's why I'm not a jazz drummer right now. Other drummers, let's say pop drummers or rock drummers or anyone, they hold it the normal way they would hold it on their right arm. So that also depends upon each and every person playing the drums. Then, now coming to the basic beats, before we turn to that, I would like to actually give you guys a handout so that I can talk to you while you know what I'm talking about. If you guys can just share it in case the number is not enough. Yeah, and then the drumstick is not the only thing that you can hit the drums with. You can also use what I have right now is the brushes. Brushes is also used for the soft parts of the music. When the people want you to play soft, they ask you to play with the brushes, or it's mostly used in jazz, but there are also many other sticks which can create different sounds while hitting the same cymbal or the same drum. Now, if you guys can see the first paper of the drum kit notation, can you guys see the notations right over there? So do you think it's a little different from the melody, or do you think it's the same? Like the melodic notations that you get for piano. Do you think it's the same, or do you think it's different? Different, yeah, okay, that, I wanted to hear that. So you can see that it's quite very different. Can you see the clef? Like we would have a treble clef. Can you see that position? Do you see something else like just two lines? So that is known as the drum clef, or also known as the neutral clef, which is used for percussion instruments. Percussion instruments which are known as out of tune or a different tune mostly. You can see that the kick is on the lowest bass available. Can you see that the very first line, the very first notation? So in this way, we can actually put a snare on the top and so and so. But this also goes different in many other countries. If you see the second line, you can see the hi-hat on top of the whole thing. Can you see that? The X or the cross mark. But that can also actually differ in many other countries. They can put it on the top line, and that they can call the hi-hat. So we as drummers, we have to actually get ourselves adjusted to whatever country we're going to, or for whoever we're playing. Because if they ask you to play the hi-hat, and if they give you a notation that's wrong for you, they will not consider that wrong. They'll just consider you not knowing much knowledge as a drummer. So we have to actually find out which country we are in and what do they actually put the notations on, where do they put the notations, and so and so. If you see the second last notation on the second line, can you see it is called as the crash? So the crash over here has the X mark and then a circle on it. But usually, the second paper, you will see that the crash will not have a circle around it. It will just have the X mark and a line on it. So it's quite very different about playing drums and about reading drums actually. Well, now coming to the basic groove, which I really want to teach you guys, it's on the second paper of the handout. So what do you think the first line is about? About which part of the drum is the first line about? Hi-hat. Can you guys read that? So the first line is all about the hi-hat. As you can see, it's written on the left side. So today we're just going to learn a little basic groove. This basic groove is just quavers, or just say 8 notes, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'm pretty sure you guys can do that, right? So that is used in multiple songs actually. That's the very basic groove played by professionals in professional music and popular music actually. It has been used in so many songs in this world that if you know this basic groove, you can just hear your favorite songs in 4/4 time signature and just play this around. Well, okay, coming to the hi-hat part. So that's how we write hi-hat, the X mark on top of the entire line. Max, you can tell us. So, if you can see the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, can you guys speak that with me? Can we start that? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and as we're doing that, shall we just tap it on our left shoulder? On the left shoulder, yes, with our right hand on the left shoulder. Shall we start it? So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and great. So I will tell you the reason why I'm placing your hands this way a little later. So let's say that's the beat of the hi-hat. So if I would play that with my drumstick on the hi-hat, with you guys tapping your left shoulder, can we do that? So 1, 2, 3, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so yeah. So that's, let's say, the basic groove of the hi-hat, which will go on throughout the song or throughout this small exercise of just 2 bars. Now coming to the second line, you can see it's hi-hat and snare drum. So we'll first learn about how and where to play the snare drum. It's played by the left hand. If you're playing the hi-hat with your right hand, it's played by the left hand. And if you can see the first bar of the second line, tell me the numbers where you can see the notation. Which number is it that you can see the snare drum notation on?
2 and 4.
2 and 4, that's right. So usually in majority of the grooves in drums, the snare drum, the most important beats of the snare drum is played on the beats 2 and 4. So if you can just do the snare drum with me right now, just the first bar. So we do the first bar. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and okay, join me now. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and alright, can you play that with your left hand hitting your tummy at the bottom? Yes, that's right. So just keep your right hand on your shoulder, don't play anything, just play with your left hand hitting your tummy, that's right. So, shall we start? 1, 2, 3, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so just keep your right hand on your left shoulder, so if you keep it this way, and keep your left hand at the bottom of your tummy. So let's do it together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so you guys got the snare drum. Let's try to first start with the hi-hat on our left shoulder this way, and then on the second bar we will add the snare drum. Alright? And then we'll keep going until I just stop you. So let's start with the hi-hat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and add the snare drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's great. Why am I asking you to keep your hands this way? It's because when you play the hi-hat and the snare drum together, your hands are placed in a crossover. So the hi-hat or the right hand, it comes on top of the left hand. So that's why I wanted you guys to play the right hand on the top. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the snare drum goes down. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So do you get the idea of the crossover? So that's the most important part when you're playing or placing your hands, because if I do it this way, so 1 and it's possible, but it's hard for me to hit the right with my left hand. So it's easier for drummers to keep it a crossover and then move their hands wherever they want. The left hand on the crash, right on the right. It's just to keep it smoother or faster or on time when the drummers are playing their grooves or anything. Let's go to the third line. You guys have got hi-hat, you guys did the snare pretty well. Let's go for the bass drum. Let's start just the bass drum. Now tell me, where is the notation placed? On which beats? 1 and?
1 and 3.
That's right. So it's on 1 and 3. So as we played the snare drum only on 2 and 4, so now we play the bass drum only on 1 and 3, but by stamping our right foot. Alright? Shall we try that? So if I just play it alone, it'll be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Alright, let's do it together. 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Great. So let's first start with hi-hat and then go for the bass drum. Ignore the snare drum for now. Let's do hi-hat and bass. So hi-hat first, then we add the bass drum and go on for a little while. So let's start with hi-hat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and bass drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, you guys are good. Well, we got more drummers. So let's start with hi-hat now. Add the snare drum first and then the bass drum and keep going for a while. Alright? So hi-hat, snare drum, bass drum. You guys know how to play it, right? Hi on the left shoulder, keep it about, left on your little tummy, and bass drum by your right foot. Let's start that with the hi-hat. So 3, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Alright, let's keep the hi-hat beats aside. If you notice, the bass drum and the snare drum, they are being played in an alternating manner. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Did you notice that? So always there is some kind of relation with every single beat you're going to play while playing on drums. So it's just that the drummers have to actually analyze which is the main part. So 1, 2, 3, 4. In between that, they can add whatever they want, if they're allowed to add whatever they want. So this goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's kind of a relation. Did you notice the relation over there? It's always alternated. Not always, it also depends upon the groove. In this basic groove, it's just that way. On the fourth line, tell me if, other than everything being added, did you notice any different notation on the fourth line? A different notation, some kind of different notation, which I've talked about earlier. On the fourth line, okay, let me give you a hint, it's the very beginning notation. Did you notice it? The fourth line of the second paper, which says all together. Did you notice?
The crash.
Yes. The very first beat, it's the crash instead of the hi-hat. So the crash is, I think I've told you this, it's just like used at the beginning to, it just makes the audience understand that it's a different section, or it's going to a different section, or it's the beginning of a different section. So if you notice the crash symbol, the crash notation on one, and then on the other beats, it's all back to hi-hat. So hi-hat and crash has a relation over there. After you play the crash, you just go directly back to the hi-hat. So if I play that for you, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and. I don't wait for anything. I just treat it as a hi-hat of a different sound. So 1 and 2 and, you notice that. So right after the crash, it's back to the hi-hat. It's just a small idea to give, is that it's a different section or anything. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Let's see. I don't know if you guys will get the answer for it. If you notice the hi-hat, the first line, can you see the first line back? You will see that after writing the hi-hat notation, for example, if I write it over here, I'm putting the stem right over there on top. If I write for the snare, let's say I write it besides, I'm going to write the snare and I'm putting the stem going on top of it. If I write for the bass, I'm writing on the lowest space and I'm putting the stem going down. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me a little bit of difference? Can you notice it? For the hi-hat and snare, the stem goes up, and for the bass, the stem goes down. Can you tell me why?
Because it's the lowest note?
No. Anyone else? Any idea? Try it. Just think, how am I playing it? With what am I playing it?
The bass one's playing with your foot, which is the lower part of your body.
Exactly. So when the stem goes down, it means that you play with your foot. Now, if you would have noticed, the hi-hat has a foot pedal as well. So when I want to play the hi-hat with my foot, or when anyone wants to give me a notation, the hi-hat foot pedal comes over here on the second space from bottom, and then the stem goes down. It will not go up. It's the way to tell. It's not a great thing, but it's just a way to tell the drummers that you have to play it with your hand or you have to play it with your foot. It's not that for the bass drum they're going to put a stem going up. I don't know who will, but that doesn't usually come up. For bass drum, the stem always goes down because they want you to play it with your foot. Alright, so now we have around a little time left. I'm going to want some of you to try and play what you just played on your body, but not on the body, but on the drum kit. So who would like to volunteer? Playing it on the drum kit. Anyone? If nobody volunteers, I'm going to choose you. Alright, come on. Right, so sit on the throne and adjust yourself as comfortable as you are. Now place your left foot on the pedal. Now close it. The pressure, you want to close it because you don't want to play the open hi-hat. This is called a closed hi-hat when you close it completely and it's basically just one. But if you release it, it becomes two of them and it's a completely different sound. Alright, go back again. Place the right foot, okay, you have done that on the bass. And give me the crossover. Exactly. So it should be hit on the center of the snare and just keep it exactly that way. Now can you just play the first line, that's the hi-hat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Alright, so the snare drum, remember it's on the 2 and 4.
Yeah, okay.
So start with the hi-hat, then give me the snare drum. We'll do the bass after that. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and great. So we'll do that again. Hi-hat, snare, and then bass on 1 and 3. So let's go slow. Let's start slow and then you can go fast if you want. Alright, let's start slow with hi-hat, then snare, and then bass. Alright? So 3, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Snare 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Bass 1 and 2. Did it right. Did it right. Bass drums. Exactly. 1. That's good. Let's do it again. But now on 1, you're going to put the crash. Can you try that? So after the crash.
With this hand.
Yes, with your right hand. So 1 and 2 and. Let's try that. 3, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and with the crash. 3, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I know it's a little bit hard, but can we have a clap of our hands for 3? So do you guys have any questions about drumming or anything to ask me about the information that I just gave you? Anyone? Any questions? Or would anybody else? Oh, yeah.
I want to know, if the person is, for example, left-handed,
Yes.
does it look the same that you have right hand on top of your left hand? Do you know that? It's
Well,
just like, is it in reverse?
I have met a couple of drummers who are naturally left-handed, but they actually like to just play the same way that everyone else is because they find it more comfortable. But as I told you, it always depends upon the drummer. If I want to place my snare drum on the right side, it depends upon me. It always depends upon the drummer. Some of them have many crashes. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen those massive drum kits with cymbals like hanging from the wall here and there. So it always depends upon the drummer where they want to place theirs or how they want to play. No one's going to stop them. As long as they give the right beat, it's all good. Anyone else? Do you guys have any questions? Alright, okay, thank you so much for being good students in this lesson. And I really enjoyed giving this session to you. Thank you so much.